Hello everyone, welcome back to the Unicorn Painter. Today we are trying to see how long it takes me to do this small little batch for my journey to 11th edition. Today we're trying to tackle like another squad of Sisters of Battle. They're already primed and something a bit beefier. In this case, the Immolator. We have all the parts, just a little bit like whoop, everywhere, so it's slightly easier to paint. So let's go. This one I already pre-mixed some of my paints, like the mixes that I did. I will put down the ratios and stuff in case you're interested in which paints I used for them, but I prefer to have like ready to paint the whole army at once instead of having to be mixing them and like sometimes getting slightly different colors. We start with a very simple base coat, you're brushing it down. Case it's a mix of Autumn Sage and Wolf Grey, both from Army Painter. It's been thinned like 1/3 of the whole pot with Airbrush thinner, and it goes extremely smoothly out of the pot already, so I don't have to worry about anything besides just sitting down painting. And even when I move into the next one, the Mossy Green and Blue Grey is from AK and Mossy Green is an Army Painter paint. Choose the same 1/3 of the pot with Airbrush thinner, and it goes extremely smoothly over the airbrush. At the end we go with a mix of Evergreen Fog and Highlord Blue, which are both from Army Painter. One is a speed paint and it gets diluted like 2/3 of the pot with Airbrush thinner and one with the mix. But yeah, that's most of the airbrushing and the base colors on, and after that I just move into painting the chips, both with the sponge, trying to focus more in the armor, and some of it with the brush to like almost reverse highlight the parts of the armor that I want to stand out a little, but I don't want to go anything crazy. This is a sort of interesting project, because like at the end of the day I just wanted a new army, a new project to keep me going until the release of the new edition. And I wanted a challenge in a way after having moved to Belgium to start an army from nothing built, nothing painted, nothing already done, zero plan, zero pressure to copy something that I already did and create a whole cohesive army that I can use. And yes, then I decided on the Sisters, found like a really cool inspiration for my paint scheme and followed it, then changed things that I needed to be more my own, to be happy with the army, and I just did. But yeah, going back to what I'm doing, it's a little bit of oil washing, and it's like a mix of 50-50 of Ivory Black and Burnt Umber over gloss varnished miniatures so I can properly clean them with just some makeup sponges. I prefer these to Q-tips because they don't leave like any residue. They are dirt cheap and they leave a much smoother finish to the whole miniature, and I can just like, okay, it's done, it's dry, and hit them with matte varnish. In this case it's like matte varnish with speed paint medium, so it's not super matte. So it's like, but also not like satin. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, the paint scheme is no secret. I will probably make like a proper tutorial if you want it. There's a lot of tiny little steps, you know, when you're army painting. In my view, you know, you need to have like a really good plan for what you're going to do, what time do you need to invest in any of them. In my case, I use an app called Brush Rage to time how long it takes me to paint anything, you know, but like airbrushing, doing the effects, like here, like doing all the Verdigris and stuff. I dilute it with like both speed paint medium and some airbrush, so it flows really well into all the creases, and it looks like actually oxidation of the gold part. It's a bit lighter than what we're going to use later for the Verdigris, the proper effect from the Army Painter, which you can see it's like that much punchier than the one that we applied. But it's also very interesting to have like that difference maybe in age and like the accumulation of the effect. So if you actually look at the whole army so far, it's pretty easy. It doesn't have like anything super crazy done to them, but it gives you like a really cool effect that you can easily repeat, easily follow when you're adding more things, and cool things that you can change a little bit, you know, like you want some more dark plasma weapons. These are flamers, you know, but they're slightly torn so they look more like plasma, not plasma, melto guns. For the skulls, I think every time I do skulls or parchment or anything like that, I change it up a little bit. So I would be like, oh, you know, this is exactly what I did, but it'd be a bit pointless because like every day I'd use different variations of the same things, usually some Bonny Matter, Skeleton Horde, any brown washes. Sometimes I add some thin down greens. I want to make any skulls or anything else like kind of unique, and same with the basing. This is Satchel Brown diluted over the base color that we did, the Brigandine Brown. You can use Urban Buff, which I found it's like an amazing color to highlight anything. I end up using it for the bases, the parchment, and even the skulls. And I sometimes hit a little bit the wood too, so it looks like, I don't know, the edges are catching a little bit more light, but it looks so good. And then you have to do all the small details, which is like a part that takes a lot more time that you're going to properly think. I was like, oh, you know, it's just a purity seal. Yes, but when you put some red down, it's like, oh, the purity seals, this seal here, I'm going to add it to the candles, I'm going to put it on the other thing. It takes a long time. Again, I'm not a great painter of faces, you know, it's like one of those things that I struggle a lot, but I use the ivory that I would use for the lenses to like not have to be changing paints so much, to both base coat the faces, highlight the skulls and some of the parchment. Then moving into like some Barbarian Flesh to start laying down the proper colors of the faces of these women. I'm always a bit sad that the sculpts of the faces on this Sister of Battle are so disappointing, but not much that one can do about it. I wanted to keep a little bit the tank separate, even if it's exactly the same steps. I wanted to show you that applying them in a different way would give you like a properly painted tank in this sense, you know. I try to be very deliberate in what order I work, and you know, with the tank, with this emulator in this case, I wanted it to be slightly grungier than most of the troops. So for the first steps, it's just the same mixtures of each one of the two colors, every time making sure that I have like a properly opaque coat, but also trying not to include any detail. And well, same with the turret and any other thing that I need to paint, like the little altar, and you'll see in a bit the tinted glass window, which I'm really happy about it. When painting tanks, I try to go more into that horsey way of painting tanks, you know, like highlights and shadows, like, you know, posing corners of the connecting panels, and it gives that weird realism. I don't know how to explain it. It's pretty interesting to see it done by people probably more skilled than me, that have painted many more tanks, but I think it looks pretty okay. This is where I go a bit more crazy with the weathering, with that intentionality of like, oh, I want it more grimy, more dark, you know. And maybe it's one of the bad things to do when you're working on like big batches or different batches on army painting, like to mix armor with infantry. Yes, they share a lot of the steps, but at the same time, it'd be better if I had to paint like 5 tanks and paint them all together at the same time than mixing, oh, one tank with one unit, you know. Because even if they're similar, you know, you don't get in that mental flow of like, oh, I know what I'm doing here and I'm gonna repeat it in the next one. It's like, oh, I need to change a little bit how I approach the chipping and the painting on the armor for the sisters and do it on the tank, you know. And okay, I need to base coat the metals and the black parts. So it's a bit of a different take, I would say, on how you have to approach the same army. And I left this in because like some of the pylons will end up being painted gold, but also was like, yeah, you know, sometimes you just make choices and then change them, which is not bad. Kind of rambling a little bit on this one, you know. I think it's like a more free forum, just talking to you a little bit on what things are in my mind when I was working on this project, and telling you like how I approach this small batch. Right now we're in a little bit of a time crunch because, like, yes, you know, 11th edition is right around the corner, so I need to finish this army. So if you want to remove the oil paint from a really big tank, the same thing that now it's really popular, you know, the paint sponges are amazing. These beauty blenders for cleaning and removing the oils from your tanks or any big surfaces, I suppose, like any giants or anything like that. It'd be really useful too. And here we go with a little bit of the gold, same as we did with the other Sisters of Battle. I tried to just do some accents because I want it to be predominantly white. I don't want to be like extremely gaudy in a way, you know, like, oh, everything has like different color, like all the statues are gold. it's just like, oh, a little bit of the trim, a little bit of the fleur de lis in the door. When painting an army, it's sometimes better to just focus on like some good details and not just be like, oh, I need to paint everything, I need to just fill all these things with colors and different mattes. And no, just focus down on what makes your army unique. Just focus down in what is going to give you the most effect for your time invested in it. Oh, you're painting something white, okay, make it look really good, make it look interesting, and your army will look that much better just by the nature of having put the effort in the big centerpiece of your army, and not a miniature, but like centerpiece in terms of like technique, color, application. And also, not every detail needs to be painted to the best levels. Some things like these metals will be looking good with some base coat over black and a thin down wash. It will look good and you don't have to worry too much about it. Like, trying to make everything look perfect for an army may be hampering you both from actually making it look good and actually feeding your army. So just enjoy the painting process, paint the things that you like to the best level possible, and anything else just paint it to look good, and it will look good. I don't know if I'm giving you anything valuable with just this rambling a little bit of how I approach my mental trim process, if you want to call it like that, of how I look into breaking down this army, you know. Oh, the centerpiece for the emulator is going to be the tinted glass window, so it's where I put a lot of time, because like I think the whole tank had been, I don't know, a couple of hours, and this whole goddamn window, between making it really glossy, thinning down the paints with extra gloss varnish to make it look more solid, but at the same time see-through, and painting the different shapes and everything. I think it was like 2 or 3 hours to not fuck everything up that I've been put on. Like, but at the end of the day, it's completely worth it, you know? Because you look at it, and when I was painting it, I was like, oh my god, it looks so vibrant, so colorful, that I was doubting it if it was going to fit with the rest of the army. But it just made it better by contrast, like, oh, you know, it's very saturated and pastel with that punch of color. And as everything else, you know, it gets covered in Verdigris and like effects, so it looks like it's seen the passage of time, and it's like a proper relic of the sisterhood, and they are taking care of it, but like at the same time rebearing the passage of time on their relics. And here it was like a slightly terrifying thing, which was to airbrush a little bit of this same color that I used for the basing and the chipping to the sides of the tank, you know, as it was like more dirt and earth and all that stuff to make it look more cohesive. When looked on the same army as the sisters. And here is another one of those pieces that took like quite a bit of time, doing all the candles and all the red thing is, you know, the missile was simply the missile, you know, but here are the candles. It's 2 coats of the red, you know, and all the white spots with some white ink to make it look like they're glowing and they're casting their light, you know. And I didn't go super crazy in rendering them, you know, because like, yes, I know that that's not exactly how light works, but it looks really good in miniature form. Same here with the fire. It's like a very simple transition from white to yellow and then just adding some red to the mixture to create that effect of a fire without having to go from white to black in every single part of the flame. It looks really good. It sells the idea of it's like, oh, it's fire, it's burning, it's a in movement thing, it's casting light, it's casting its own shadows. In this case, I was not super happy with like just airbrushing it, so I grabbed a little bit of the same red that I used for the candles and everything else and just highlighted the upper third of all the flames before going with some black and catching the wispiest part of the flames and the candles, so it looks like that smoke it's going up and away. And this is the best part of all, you know, like when you're finally done and you're just putting it together with a little bit of super glue and being terrified to fucking it up and gluing yourself to it or stripping some paint or anything else. These seconds were like, oh my god, have I fucked up? It's going in, it's not, it's... I get a lot of anxiety when I'm working by myself sometimes. Here I realized I needed some more depth into some of the statues and other things, so I diluted some Ratling Grime and just put it in. Well, that was it, and as you can see here, I think they look pretty okay for the total amount of time that they took, which was like 16 hours in total. So yeah, I hope you find this interesting, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!